Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us once again on the simulcast. Those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. We're glad you all can be with us. Going to bring in our friends over on IG so they can be part of our conversation. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live. And I'm really excited to welcome back our guest. She's our special guest for today. Her book was chosen as our book of the month for Conversations, the Book Club. It's a book that I think all of you guys will appreciate. It's called Chasing Different. She has hers. I have a couple of mine here, but we're live now on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon platform, welcome. Please make sure you guys hit that follow button. Today starts our official campaign, our road to 50,000 followers on Amazon Live, as we're gearing up for our Guinness World Record event that will be on Amazon on October 29th. You'll see that follow button either here in this corner or down below. You also will see Chasing Different by Colette R. Harrell, as well as her other book there later. We're going to talk to Colette not only about the characters that you all will meet in this new book, but also the situations they find themselves in, and why this should be a book that's on your reading list. Colette, my friend, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Look, it's always great. I tell people, even when no matter how many times I interview somebody, Colette, there's always so much more that we can pull out of these conversations and with these characters. That is definitely the case with Chasing Different. So I want to bring up, not that I've been stalking you, Colette. I want to be very clear about this. But I have noticed on your social media, you were at an event recently with readers, and you got a chance to introduce them to Nia and Deacon. What was it like for you to see the response?
It was really heartening. It was heartening, excuse me. I
Mhm.
was excited because every time I talk about it, it brings all of it up again for me. It reiterates that it's a great story, that it's a story that stands alone, but has so many more components to it that will continue, so that this series will be one that you'll keep on your bookshelf and reread. That's my goal.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the big thing, and that's what's been great for me. Is I took the book with me to Los Angeles. I'll be taking it with me actually to Fayetteville, North Carolina this week, and then some surprising things we have coming up for next month. But what I love about this book, Colette, and every time I tell people about it, is the way that you're able to set the stage, and you're able to do that and letting us know that there is some interesting backstories, not only to the main characters, Nia and Deacon, but also to the shadow organization that's kind of behind things too. What was it like for you to build this world and to bring these characters into it?
I love it. I love a good villain.
Hmm.
I think that part of having a great book is having a great plot.
Hmm.
And good villains, in terms of being really bad villains,
Yeah.
are the meat of a good plot. And the console, so much is going on in the world today, right?
Hmm.
And we see so many headlines, and we no longer know truth from fact. And so and from lie, right? So we've got all these gray areas. And so the console is this concept of those shadowy people in the background
Right.
running everything that our conspiracy theorists always talk about, right? So I wanted to bring those out and bring up the head of that and the background to the console, and the fact that the book of disasters, which has gotten into the console's hands, they've had it for over 250 years. That's a very long time for a shadowy group to grow and build its tentacles out into the entire world. And so I wanted to put this on a world platform and
Right.
build from that. So I really feel great that you love the world building that's going on in the book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you literally start, for those who haven't read the book yet, Colette literally starts the book with us getting into the antagonist of the story. And so that kind of helps to set the stage. And just like the reason why I wanted to bring that up, Colette's because just like we see in the world today, when there is are those who seem to be oppressors, those who seem to be wanting to bring, havoc, and to also to be able to abuse power, there are people on the other side. And that brings us to Nia and Deacon, two unlikely individuals. And I want to spend some time talking about them for our audience, Colette, because they may just be finding out about these two individuals. I want to say for those joining us on Amazon, you'll see the book is available both in print. You guys can get the Kindle edition right now for only $6.99 as well. I want to talk about Nia and Deacon, starting off with Nia, because Nia is an interesting character. And I think if we're not careful, Colette, people will miss the layers of Nia. One of the things I wanted to make sure I brought up when I was prepping for today was Nia knows, just like Deacon knows what it's like to be ostracized and made fun. Nia does too. There's a connection with them there. What was it like for you to create this character that on the outside people will look at and say, you know, she's this person, she's this bookie, you know, that doesn't seem to have much to her. What was it like for you to create the layers of Nia?
I thought that was really important. I thought it was important to start in her early teenage years, where she first began to feel that her sister was much more vibrant, right? She was the younger one. She was the less known one. She was the nerdy one who loved a good book. Mm-hmm. But as you get to know Nia, I call her my cowardly lioness, right? Because as you get to know Nia, she begins to slowly come out of her cocoon. She slowly emerges into this butterfly of who she was meant to be. And I don't want to act as though Deacon was her savior in that respect, because she is a Christian. She is a believer. But what he has done, what he has brought her is he's a catalyst to her understanding, if he's all of this, having his barriers and boundaries, what can I do for myself? Yeah. And maybe I should stop leaning on my sister to fight my battles and start living life on my own terms. Yeah. And so she begins to start not caring as she goes further and further into the story about what people think, because she's a people pleaser, right?
Yeah. And I want to actually read something that you wrote in chapter 9 of the book. And one of the great things about the way Colette wrote this is we're able to get more, even though it's written in third person, so we kind of get a wider view of all the characters. She does allow us to be able to get to know the inner workings of each character. And in chapter 9, that's more of Nia's chapter. And I want to read what you wrote here, Colette, and we talk about it, because here is Nia in this situation, of course, after she has not only been introduced to Deacon, but also thinking about her life. She said this, you wrote this: people would talk. That's what they did. They'd whisper, point, laugh behind her back, and sometimes not even wait until her back was turned. That's why Deacon was out of the question. She hated being laughed at. All her life, she'd been trying to outrun that sound. As an army brat, she'd never stayed anywhere long enough to build real roots. Always the new girl, always a step behind the inside jokes. I want to talk about that because, again, reading that from you giving us a wider version of her, then we as the reader are able to see why Deacon and her are perfect.
Right.
For each other. What was it like for you? And I'm curious, how much of Colette went into Nia?
I think a little of me goes into every character. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty hard to, even the villains, right? I mean, they might be things I've thought of that would be really cool to do to somebody who is just really wrecking my nerves and just something I would never do. But I think we put a little of ourselves in every character, and if not us, someone close to us. Mm-hmm. So for Nia, I think the fact that when I was much younger, I wanted everybody around me to be happy.
Gotcha.
And so I won't necessarily say I was a people pleaser, but I wanted people to be happy. Mm-hmm. And so I went out of my way to try to make sure that they were feeling happy, or I could do anything I could to bring happiness to them. And I think as you get older, you realize people find happiness within themselves. Yeah. And so, but I think that was a lesson I had to learn, especially high school kind of years. You know, you really have to learn to be true to yourself.
Right. Right. Which brings us into Deacon. We're going to get more into him. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, I see you guys over there on YouTube. Welcome. Those of you on IG, appreciate you being with us. On Amazon, appreciate the hearts. You all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents on Amazon Live, but we are simulcasting it across social media. Award-winning author Colette R. Harrell is our guest today. We're talking about her newest book that is Conversations Book Club book pick for this month. It's called Chasing Difference. If you guys have not gotten your copy, make sure you guys do so you can join us in our big conversation about the book later on. We're talking to Colette now about the characters. We were just talking about Nia. Now I'm going to talk about Deacon. So it's interesting. In many ways, when I first read Chasing Different, the first time through, Colette, for me, Deacon was someone who not only wanted to be the hero for Nia, he wanted to be the hero for himself. So I'm curious, what was it like for you in creating him and not only giving him the things that make him different, because both Nia and him have something that makes them different. And we're going to talk more about the title of the book here in a bit. But what was it like for you kind of creating him and the layers of Deacon?
I actually love Deacon, and it was actually a love that grew on me because Deacon was not going to have as large a point of view as he ended up having.
Oh,
But as I continue to groom him, as I continue to put layers on his character, I began to just like him more and more. Here is someone who, by all appearances, is very handsome, wonderful physique, but he's on the spectrum. So he draws people to him, and then once he begins to speak to people, they begin to notice there's something different.
right.
And so, him having to have gone through that his whole life and his background being quite different, him being biracial, him having a brother that his stepbrother that was white, all of the things that maybe make your household story a little different than other people. And so he begins to learn how to navigate life on his own terms. And he decides at a young age that he's not going to be a pushover or engage people that don't matter. And there's a scene in the book where he tells the doorman at a building that the doorman doesn't even know. I don't want to give it out, but the doorman doesn't know who Deacon really is. And he says to him, "You can play with me, you can talk to me, but you will not disrespect my woman." And so that was such a coming to terms where even Nia's sister says, there's a lot more to this character. There's a lot more to this guy than
Yeah.
meets the eye, right? And so then Sin begins to say, maybe this is the one for my sister.
Well, and that's why I think the title for me now takes on different meaning, Colette, as I've been reading it and thinking, because I remember when you first told me the title a year ago
Mm-hmm.
and you showed me the cover, I mean, of course you take that and chasing different and you think, okay, these are people, on the run, I mean, which in some cases there is a level of that, right?
Yes.
But what I now realize, and that's why I wanted our audience to kind of get a little bit of backstory. What I now, as a reader, and I'm curious as to you as the author, but for me as a reader now, the title means something different for me because now it means for me the very thing that sometimes we try to get away from about ourselves and that other people may not appreciate is the very thing we need to embrace.
Right.
And so for me, chasing different is now realizing that just trying to be what everyone else is or do what everyone else is doing is not the way. It really is embracing who you are. So talk to us, Miss Writer, about the title for you. How did you come up with the title Chasing Different and what did it mean for you?
I wanted to go outside the box. I wanted protagonists that weren't uh, common protagonists, that weren't the usual cut. I wanted to make I wanted to create a character who was living on the spectrum, but was thriving and would not have, if he could go back and change it, he wouldn't change who he was.
Yeah.
And that he has made insurmountable um, benefits to the community around him by being who he was, right? Because I explained in the first chapter how, because he was biracial, and because not of the fact that he was biracial, but as a child, watching all of the different people react to their blended family made him want to be a geneticist, where he wanted to figure out, what is this about color? What is this about race? Why is melanin such an important thing for people? Why is this characteristic so important in society? Which allow him to then dig deep enough that he begins to construct other genes and how they work. And so he begins to develop and create and invent technologies that embrace in other countries and third world countries, things that will help them as a society. So I think that you hit the nose on the button, or hit the button on the nose, that he's a character that, because he understood who he was, because he understood all of the people around him trying to give him boundaries, he established his own identity and he stayed with it through the entire book. And I think that we still see growth in him, just in terms of his familial relationship with his brother.
Yeah. Yeah, and the family element on both sides, both for Nia and Deacon, are both interesting, Colette. And I think it plays into a bigger theme, because I started off this whole conversation with you today talking about the antagonist, talking about the council, talking about the Book of Disasters. But then I went into, just like there may be a powerful antagonist, there are also going to be those too who are going to be willing to stand up, even if it's not the ones that you would expect to, right? For yourself as a storyteller, um, I know you love telling stories. I know you love entertaining, but what did you want readers to remember, or at least think about, when they read Chasing Different and thought about the books that were going to be coming in the series?
Well, first of all, the series, every single person in the series, every antagonist is outside the box,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have Deacon, who's on the spectrum. We have Nia's sister, who has a split personality. And then we go back and we do a prequel to Deacon and Jonesy's parents, and how he came out of a supremacist camp, um, and found his own identity, only to turn around and marry outside of his race. So what I wanted to establish is that we find love in so many different places, and
Mm-hmm.
to not limit ourselves for who might be for us. And that even though Deacon found Nia
Mm-hmm.
first, it was his interest in her, and she wasn't returning his interest for fear of being laughed at.
Yeah.
What ends up growing for both of them is the fact that knowing who you are and living life to its fullest provides you with a fuller and more happy and joyful life. And
Yeah.
so, if I wanted anyone to come away with anything, and this is why I didn't name Deacon as autistic, I didn't name him as Asperger's. I wanted people to just see someone who was outside of the norm, embracing and living their lives to the fullest. So, what I would say to everyone who reads this is to live your life according to what God has placed within you. And there's Miles Monroe says something a long time ago that I keep in my spirit, is that we should all go to the grave empty. And so I think it's important for us to give our full identities a chance to evolve and to embrace who we were meant to be.
Yeah, such a great point. Hey, Stacy, good to be able to see you over there on Facebook.
Hi,
Stacy said
Stacey.
hello as well. And one other point I want to bring up, Colette, then we're going to remind our audience, of course, not only about getting the book. And again, I appreciate all of the love over there on Amazon. Make sure you guys grab the book, though. Stacy says, sounds like an interesting read. It really is, Stacy. And I want to talk about strength in numbers, because we do see, as the book culminates, that there are those willing to stand up for what's right. And the reason why I want to bring this up, Colette, is because we live in a time where the darkest voices seem to be the loudest, and those people who are trying to do what is good, those people who are trying to make a difference, are not always heard. what is it that keeps you optimistic? Because your characters push through even when the odds seemed against them. What is it that keeps you optimistic?
What's the alternative in a lot of ways, right? I mean, to embrace darkness is to allow darkness to win. And so that's something I'm never going to give over to. And I want my characters, I'm a proponent of happily ever after, right?
Mm,
But I believe happily ever after, when you get to the end of the read, it should always make you a better person. So
right.
I always put social justice in my book somewhere where I want people to come out feeling empowered to do more. I
Hmm.
feel like I want them to be empowered to vote. I want them to be empowered to work in their community. I want them to be empowered to help their neighbors and get to know their neighbors. Some people don't even know their neighbors' names.
Yeah.
So I want them to live a life that is as full as can be, and that includes being involved in your community. So I would want people to go away from this book feeling like if they could do it, if Nia and Deacon could thrive in this atmosphere at the end, then that's certainly something that I can do. And if they can turn their dark days into lighter days and brighter days, then that's certainly something that I can hold out for too. Because I believe they're coming. I believe that, like you said, these quiet people in the background working for the common good are always wonderful. The people that stop and help somebody with a flat tire, the person that grabs an elderly person's groceries. It doesn't have to be really big, but small things add up.
Right.
So those are the things that I look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of great things to be able to keep in mind and to enjoy as you're reading this book. Again, everyone, Colette R. Harrell has been our guest. Chasing Different is the book we've been talking about. The subtitle here is Fitting In Has a Price. And this is the first book in a series as well. So make sure you guys get this book, go and get familiar with these characters. As you heard Colette mention, there's going to be more world building, even taking us back some as the series continues. So, Colette, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
You can always stay connected with me on my website, ColetteHarrell.com. And I do have people engaged there. I do have people come there and get autographed books. So please, look out if you want to know about the other two books in the series. I have synopsis on there. And also, when you buy the book, look for that last page where I give you bonus chapters and I give you some outlook into the next, some sneak peeks into the next books that are coming up. You can also reach out to me, of course, on Facebook, Colette R. Harrell, or on Facebook Fans, Colette R. Harrell Fans. Also on Instagram, Colette R. Harrell. So if you just remember my name, you can find me. And I would love for you to reach out. I would love to engage.
All right, Colette, always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. Looking forward to our next conversation together.
Also, thank you so much for having me, Cyrus. And thanks for everyone who tuned in.
Yeah, definitely appreciate them. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.